Okay. Okay. Hello, fellas and ladies. It is time at last to review Here, the newest film directed by Robert Zemeckis, written by Eric Roth, starring Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, the big Forrest Gump reunion, if you will. And this film is essentially one big experiment. Can a film be told from one angle? This film is literally shot directly from one camera position throughout time, from the prehistoric era to the present. The majority of the film is in the living room of a single home, and we focus mainly on the residents basically being a mundane family, mostly focusing on a couple played by Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. So, Robert Zemeckis has been on a bit of a cold streak as of late. He's not been good in quite some time. And this is not an exception. This movie's really bad. Just from the trailer alone, you can kind of tell that this whole, one angle thing is an odd experiment. Obviously, we're looking in on one living room. We're like, all right, what's going on there? We all saw from the trailer the de-aging. We saw, what exactly Zemeckis is trying to do. I will say, the de-aging isn't nearly as, it's clear that they polished it a little bit from when the trailer came out. However, it still looks pretty rough. Especially when you look at someone like Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. We know what they look like. We know what Tom Hanks sounds like. We know he didn't sound the same way for 50 years. A lot of the techniques in this experiment fail. I think this experiment, the camera angle experiment, just is, as a whole, is a failure as a storytelling mechanism. Robert Zemeckis implemented a lot of editing techniques. There was one technique I was kind of into involving boxes, where what will essentially happen is they basically transition to the next scene by showing a box area of the next scene where something's in a different position or something that wasn't there is there now. And then slowly but surely it'll morph into the next scene, outside of the box. Now, I thought that this was an interesting idea. I don't think they did a bad job with doing it, even if they overused it. But every other transition in this movie is pretty god-awful. There's a lot of moments where they just kind of do, wipe transitions that look so unnatural. There'll be moments where, a character will, be really close to the screen, and then it'll, transition, from there where the camera's in the exact same position. Again, it looks very unnatural. Even though the movie mostly takes place in the house, for some reason, it just looks so digitally altered. It looks so, rough on a CG standpoint, not just de-aging, but I can't tell what was CG and what wasn't. But the movie just looked so off. It looked like a fucking greeting card. The movie, it can really be best exemplified as it's a fucking scrapbook. Our main instance of a story is through this family drama between Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. Now, for the most part, this story is mostly inoffensive. It's pretty fucking basic. It's a lot of my dreams, I didn't do the things I wanted to do, and Tom Hanks going, I want to paint, Dad, and this guy's drunk, and this guy has this disease, and this person's dying, and this is the fight they're having. A lot of it is that. Like I said, it's mostly inoffensive, but I do wonder how much more I could have felt if it wasn't for the fact that this movie is told in a benignly unnecessary fucking non-linear format. Like I said, this movie takes place through history. Problem is, we don't get anything from anything outside of the Tom Hanks and Robin Wright storyline. For some reason, in the middle of a scene of the main story, it will just randomly cut to something unrelated. Fuck! Before suddenly just cutting back. And here's the problem. There is, a semblance with one of the non-sequitur storylines involving Native Americans. There's a semblance of there is connection. But for the most part, it's just kind of nothing. There's a storyline about a guy who likes to fly planes, and there's one story about a guy building the Lazy Boy. Some shit about Ben Franklin that's in this movie for some fucking reason. I get it's all part of Robert Zemeckis' grand, experiment to tell a story through time with one camera angle. Problem is, it lessens the impact of the story you're trying to tell. When I maybe could have been crying, I just felt nothing. That all said, I found myself mostly laughing at the movie than being mad at it. It's clear to me that Zemeckis just wanted to do an experiment and didn't want to tell a movie, which is a lot of his movies recently. However, he should have focused a little more onto it. He should have had a little more focus on something like fact that the acting was very campy. It's clear to me that the technology is not there yet, or if it ever will be there for a movie like this to succeed, because he clearly wanted to rely on digital effects a lot. And this movie just, unfortunately, there's a lot that still needs to be, fixed. Because when this movie was over, I felt nothing but like, what the fuck did I just experience? It's pretty awful, but I'm not like angry at it. I'm more just like, okay, what? It's kind of shit like, why the fuck is there just a random colonial house in the middle of a suburban neighborhood? There's also a lot of moments where like an actor will like come close to this angle in the house where this camera is and just stare off into the distance and be like, man, this is the monologue. This is what I'm dealing with right now. Problem is, it's just a fucking house. We're in a living room. So when you look out, we're just looking at more house. Like they're just staring at the fucking dining room. Which is kind of like a thing. As a experiment, it just doesn't work. And I find myself more laughing at it than I am like going, whoa, what an ambition by Zemeckis. It just didn't land. But on top of that, there's no story for me to connect to because it was so focused on this ambition to fucking make me feel anything. Here is just simply a freak experiment gone wrong for so many reasons. I can only admire the ambition so long as the ambition isn't the only purpose of the movie, but it seemingly is for Robert Zemeckis, as this race through time lessens the impact that its core story could have had. And it distracts too often with baffling technical stuff. This is another film that continues on with Robert Zemeckis' downward spiral, so I'm gonna have no choice but to give this movie 3 scary-looking Tom Hankses out of 10. Between this and Elvis, I guess Tom Hanks is in his, like, scary-looking era. Alright, that is that. That is the end of this video. Don't go see here. It's not even, like, worth it. It's not, like, it could be perceived as a so bad it's good thing, but honestly, it's just kind of empty at the end of the day. Like, subscribe, and share. And thank you for watching.